Hi, Mark Jaben, Medical Director for the Haywood County Health Department, and let's talk about this pandemic. First, I'd like to say thanks to each of you for following the public health recommendations. And if you've chosen not to, well, it's never too late. The main thing right now is to isolate if and as soon as you get sick. It gives us the best opportunity to track, test, and contain. It is the best way for you to protect health and the economy. And if you get tested, please honor the quarantine recommendations until your results are back. It makes a huge difference. So let's look at the metrics from this past week. First category is visits for COVID-like illness. And in North Carolina, this peaked in late March and has been downward ever since, now around 2.5%. This also reflects the end of flu season. Previous seasons at this time, CLI would be around 1%. So we are still high from a historical perspective, likely from COVID. In Haywood County, anyone with symptoms is getting tested, and we have numbers for that total tested. There is a slight uptick, and it's partly due to testing with the elective surgery protocol, which is lumped in together. Second category is trajectory of cases. In North Carolina, cases are still going up. And in the past week, confirmed cases went way up from 250 early in the week to over 700 in the past day or two. The R0 is unchanged from last week, 0.84, and you'll recall that the important number there is less than 1 to indicate a slowing of spread. In Haywood County, we had 10 new cases 2 weeks ago in that spike, 3 last week, and 5 new cases this week, giving us a doubling rate somewhere around 14 days. And by the way, Henderson and Buncombe counties have higher numbers as well. The rest of North Carolina is pretty much unchanged. Our trajectory, thankfully, is down compared to 2 weeks ago when we had that spike. And we have had around 14 days to get better clarity about where we were headed. It appears we were on the back side of it. Next category is the percentage of tests that are positive of all the tests that are done. In North Carolina, 7% this week, down from 8% last week. Haywood County, we remained around 5% over the last 2 weeks, reflecting that trajectory. But just remember that 3 weeks ago, we were at 1.7%. The category next would be the number of hospitalizations. In North Carolina, this looks to be flat over the past week. Haywood County has had a slight uptick on the suspected cases admitted, but still no positives among those hospitalized. And it also should be noted that the hospital is doing a good job of being very careful as they move to restart their elective procedures. Next category is testing capacity, and the state is up, although still not enough to test every asymptomatic person. And PPE supplies are good in North Carolina across the state, except for gowns. But here in Haywood County, we look to be okay. And a word about the age range of the cases. We have now had cases distributed across all ages from childhood to greater than 80. The median is around 50, which means that half above and half below. And as far as deaths go, we have not had any yet here. But you just look around us to see that there's no guarantee of that continuing as we go forward. So what can we conclude? Well, for one, the spike 2 weeks ago with a doubling rate at that time at 2.5 days did not continue. And that's really great. For now, it looks as though we are containing that spike. Second, the importance of isolating if sick and quarantine if exposed. We can see that quite a few of these recent cases here in Haywood County could have been prevented, and this spike would have been contained earlier. The more we prevent for everyone, the better. And third, cases are still going up in the state and here. We have not had the 14 days of sustained decrease in cases as designated in the federal guidelines. So, should we move to phase 2 next week? Well, that depends on what we see next week when reviewing the data, and if we see continued improvement on the metrics next week. And it depends on how many of us are committed to do what it takes. As we reopen, the risk becomes more, not less. And to offset this increased risk, more of us need to be taking the public health measures to heart, more vigilant, not less, individuals and businesses, especially if you want our best chance to protect health, continue on the path of reopening, and therefore preserve the economy. So be well, stay emotionally connected, and physically distant.